Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to Dr. Zaki and my fellow classmate. My name is Muhammad Zuluddin. The metric number 265124. So this video are going to presenting of the combating the IUU fishing near the South China Sea at the east coast state of Malaysia. So first of all, let's talk about what is the IUU meanings. So IUU stands for illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, and it was referred to a broad set of fishing activities that undermine sustainable fishery management. Well, according to the United States National Intelligence Council (NIC) in 2006, illegal fishing refers to fishing activities by vessel from one country in the jurisdiction of another country without permission. Unreported fishing refers to activities that are unreported, deliberately misreported for proper authorities, and the regulated fishing refers to fishing activities in the area where there are no applicable conservation and oil management measures, such as the outside any country EEZ, which is exclusive economic zone, and not under the jurisdiction of the regional fisheries management organizations, RFMO. So the IUU fishing is a global problem that threatens our ocean economy, our ocean ecosystem, and sustainable fishery, according to the article from the Council on Foreign Relations (CFR), which is dated from this year. Carried out by Malaysia's actors in the shadow of the world ocean, it also can devastate our ecosystem, degrade our food stock, and undermine fragile fishing economies. And sometimes it was be corrupted by some government that has been corrupted within the power and doesn't want to take care of the fishery management. Also the high and developing interest for seafood, especially in South Asia, where the populace significantly rely on marine resource for food and play, because of some of South China Sea area was the maritime boundary, and also it happened for the field scope since it's regularly be drilled without risk of punishment. This situation in the regional waters or the EEZ of that state cannot be bear to execute expensive and complex fishery control measures. Similar is to its neighboring Asian country and any part of the world that have maritime dispute. Incidents of IUU fishing are prevalent in the Malaysian fishery waters. They also acute about the water of Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor in the South China Sea. IUU fishing has been long problematic in this part of the water, of the great concern to the fishery management authorities, because it's not affected resource sustainability and the livelihood of the local fishermen community, but also the economy of these three coastal states, or it can include Johor, because of some of the Johor has the west coast. For example, marine fishing landing that has been increased by 2.9% from the 1.2 million tons metric in 2010, and it was increased to the 1.76 million tons in 2020 in Terengganu. So we can see that the overfishing is currently occur in that state, in the Terengganu. In 2019, a total of bombing cases, fishing bombing, were 43, and it was recorded in Sapona, Sabah. And it was, as an example, the wave produced at the blast also brought some injuries to the fish, especially for the internal organs of the fish, including the broken bones, as well as rupture intestine and the air sac, as long as they get what they want. In order to understand it better, the question of this research will be undetailed. To keep it short, let me point it as our understanding. So what is the major type of IUU fishing occurring in this Malaysia fishery waters, especially in South China Sea, especially in the east coast of the state East Coast state in Peninsular Malaysia. And what are the impact of IUU fishing on the fish stock and the social economy and the ecosystem that are arising from these IUU fishing activities? And also we need to maybe mention what are the Malaysian national law and regulation to suppressing IUU fishing, and the most importantly, what the issue and challenges in the combating IUU fishing in those waters. Because if we don't know this kind of matters, then how do we want to stop it, right? So the next what in the report want to say is the objective. So the objective for this what you can say that for this report is to identify and analyze the major type of IUU fishing in South China Sea of the East Coast state of the Peninsular of Malaysia, and also to examine the impact on the fish stock, socio-economy and ecosystem arising from these IUU fishing activities. Need to mention that the report also want to appraise the Malaysian national law and regulation to suppress IUU fishing, and also one of the objectives are also to examine the issue and the challenges in the combating IUU fishing in those waters. And finally, the final point is to analyze the recommended set of action to combat IUU fishing in the Malaysia waters, especially in the East Coast states. So I will pass to the next presenter, which is Nur Maizatun Najwa binti Zainuddin, to explain her point about this topic. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nur Maizatun Najwa binti Zainuddin, and my metric numbers is 2635 and 82. I am going to present on the major types and impacts of IUU fishing activities that occur in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor. The first type of IUU fishing activities that happen in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor is fishing in Marine Protected Area (MPA). According to the Food and Organization of the United Nations, stated that Malaysia has been established marine park and marine reserve as well as fisheries protected area under the Fisheries Act 1985. Under the Fisheries Act 1985, fishing activities in MPA are prohibited for the purpose of conservation and preserving endangered aquatic life. However, some still violate the law to fishing in the MPA. For instance, there are 12 local fishermen who were captured for fishing in the Pulau Au Marine Park area in Mersing, Johor. The second type of IUU fishing activity that occur in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor is unlicensed fishing vessel. Fishing license is a permission granted by the government to individual or local and also foreign vessel to fish in specified areas. And illegal fishing can be occur when fishing activity were conducted by local or foreign fishing vessels in maritime water without the permission of that state. For instance, 2 fishing boats with a total of 16 Vietnamese were detained by the Department of Fisheries Pahang for fishing for seafood without a license in the water of Tanjung Sekukung Pekan. In Malaysia, fishing without a license is still a major problem which causes a great losses to the country. Then, the third type of IUU fishing activities that occur in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and also Johor is destructive fishing activities. Destructive fishing practice is a fishing technique that can destroy fish habitat and also bring damage to marine environment, such as bottom trawling, cyanide fishing and also fish bombing. In Kelantan, Pahang, Terengganu and Johor, destructive activities such as cyanide and fish bombing is still a common practice done by the local to catch fish. Even these practices are actually harmful for the marine ecosystem such as coral reef. For instance, a total of 4 local men were arrested for using fish bomb in the waters of Taman Laut Pulau Perhentian. Destructive fishing practice like this can damage coral reef. If fish bombing is carried out in coral reef area, it will damage the coral reef and will affect the marine habitat. Next, illegal trawling in non-designated fishing zone is one of the main type of IUU fishing activities that happen in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor. Illegal trawling in a non-designated area fishing zone is actually referred to trawling activities that has been done in prohibited area. In Malaysia, trawling actually can be used to catch fish, but it can be used in only certain fishing zone that has been set by the government. So there are 4 zones that has been introduced by Department of Fisheries Malaysia, which is A zone, B zone, C zone and also C2 zone. And trawling can only be used in C2 zone. However, many illegal trawling activities has been done in other zone. Even trawling practice can only be done in C2 zone only. For instance, a local vessel including 5 crew has been detained for carrying out fishing activities using a trawl at a distance of about 9.8 nautical miles from Pulau Tioman Beach, Mersing. Next, foreign fishing encroachment is also the major type of IUU fishing activities that happen in Kelantan, Pahang, Terengganu and Johor. Foreign fishing encroachment is an encroachment carried out by a foreign vessel without a valid license to fish in Malaysia water. The east coast of Malaysia, which consists of Kelantan, Terengganu and Pahang, has attracted a high number of encroachment because the rich marine resources. For instance, according to Minister of Home Affairs Malaysia, Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin said that the country is facing losses up to 4 billion ringgit in marine products following the encroachment of foreign fishermen in the east coast waters of Malaysia that involved more than 8,000 fishing boats from June 2020 to June 2021. Smuggling diesel activity is also another type of IUU fishing activity that happened in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor. According to Ministry of Finance Malaysia, he said that a total of 1.7 billion will be allocated in the form of subsidies as incentive to farmers and also fishermen in the 2021 budget. The provision of diesel subsidies to fishermen is intended to help to reduce the burden of fishermen because fishermen's diesel subsidy is cheaper than the regular diesel subsidies. However, there are still irresponsible persons who take advantage by selling diesel to other parties. For instance, in Muar Johor, the Marine Police team seized 1,200 litres of diesel with a current value of 2,640 ringgit, which was believed has been purchased using fisherman subsidy before the fuel was sold with a cheaper price to another party. The issue of smuggling diesel activity has become a great concern to the government. Now we move to the impact of IUU fishing activities. The impact of IUU fishing activity can be seen in fish stock, socio-economy and marine ecosystem and also habitat. The first impact of IUU fishing activities is the depletion of fish stock. Excessive fishing activities in protected area as well as fishing without a license affect the fish stock in Peninsular Malaysia. As example, the encroachment of foreign fishermen as well as fishing activities using trawl nets can reduce fish stock in Malaysia, especially in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor. The use of trawls net can destroy fish seed and natural places for fish breeding such as coral reef and also trap little fish that are trapped that contribute to the problem of depletion of fish stock in Kelantan, Pahang, Terengganu and Johor waters. The second impact of IUU fishing is it has affected the source of income of local fishermen. Many people living in Terengganu, Kelantan and Pahang work as fishermen for living. The volume of fish catches by the local fishermen are decreased due to the encroachment by foreign vessels. This has been affect their source of income where the fish caught by the foreign fishermen have reduced their cash. Next, the last impact of IUU fishing is the destruction of marine ecosystem and habitat. This is because the activities such as the use of destructive fishing practice can destroy coral reef and also affect the marine ecosystem. For example, destructive fishing practice like the use of trawlers can destroy coral reef. The use of trawls can scoop in various types of fish regardless of size and destroy the seatbelt. This made the small fish trap and will affect the growth and reproduction of fish, and even the use of bottom trawler also destroy marine habitats such as coral reef. This will cause the marine ecosystem to be affected. The impact of IUU fishing activities not only have a negative impact in marine life but also have a negative impact on human in terms of fish resources and also socio-economy.
My name is Munira Shufuka. My metric number is 268053. Now I will continue about Malaysia national law and regulation to suppress IUU fishing. The first one is Fisheries Act 1985 in bracket Act 317. Provision of the Fisheries Act 1985 in bracket Act 317 are used by the national governments to govern the management and development of the captured fisheries in the Malaysia waters. It is an act relating to fisheries, including the conservation, management and development of maritime and estuary fishing and fisheries. This act came into force on May 13, 1985, and this act has been divided into several parts, which are Part 1 until Part 11. Under Part 5 of the Act explain the foreign fishing vessels in Malaysia fisheries waters. In Section 15 bracket 1, when entering into the Malaysia fisheries waters, the foreign fishing vessels are prohibited from doing any fishing activities and research without consent. Besides, under the Section 16 of the foreign fishing vessels only can enter the fisheries waters for some reasons, such as passage through for a voyage to a destination which needs them to use that the way needs some help in terms of medical assistance, and when the vessel have technical issues or in danger. However, all foreign fishing vessels needs to comply with the regulation and instructions by the Malaysian government. The foreign fishing vessels or any person who breaks the rules or does an offence will be fined or penalized and can be charged in the court, which is covered in Part 6 of the Act. Therefore, a person can be fined when using inappropriate apparatus or substances to catch fish, such as poison, prohibited gear, and the use of explosive. Apart from that, under this part, it contains Section 27, which explain about Malaysia government prohibited any person to catch an aquatic mammals or turtles, and in the Section 28 is explained about purposely damage the fishing vessels or apparatus. The second one is Exclusive Economic Zone EEZ Act 1984. Exclusive Economic Zone EEZ Act 1984 is an important act for the countries because to assure the safety of the national waters. The maritime zones asserted EEZ Act 1984 set out the EEZ as the area beyond and adjacent to the territorial sea extending to 200 nautical miles measured from the baseline where Malaysia has sole exploitation rights over natural resources. This act consists of 10 parts, which are Part 1 until 10. Under Part 9 of this act, it explains on penalties that will be faced by any person who is guilty of an offence, detention and forfeiture of vessels. Any vessel that is doing break into the Malaysia EEZ water without permissions and doing illegal fishing will be face penalties and detention. Thus, this is one way that the Malaysia government do to protect the EEZ water from IUU fishing activities. Nevertheless, in Section 29, any person who is found guilty shall be liable to a fine not exceeding 1 million ringgit. Apart from that, under Section 32, bracket 1, the detained process will be involved an authorized officer or the court. The third one is Fisheries Development Authorities Act 1971. The Fisheries Development Authorities Act 1971 is to increase production and ensure that the country fish supply is adequate and meet standards. Apart from that, this act is consisting of 5 parts and 26 sections. This act can be used in all states in Malaysia, including Sabah and Sarawak. Part 3 of this act is focused on power relating to enforcement, which was given by the Minister to the public officer and officer of the lembaga. Under Section 12, the public officer has the right to enter premise to investigate if the officer suspected that the pupil in the premise were doing something that is prohibited under this act by carrying out inspection and examination by detaining books and documents to gather information. Therefore, the public officers that works together with the Development Authority of Malaysia (LKIM) is Malaysia Maritime Enforcement (MMEA) and Royal Malaysia Navy (RMN) to protect the Malaysian waters from foreign vessels and also a local fisherman. Apart from that, under the Section 14(1), public officer or police officer has the power to stop and search any vessels that seems to do something that is prohibited for the purpose of determining whether any fish contained in the vessels is being moved or transported legally or illegally. The fourth one is Fisheries Prohibitions Method of Fishing Regulation 1980. The Fisheries Prohibited Methods of Fishing Regulation 1980 contain 3 schedules which to explain the fishing methods that prohibited to use in Malaysia maritime water. Besides, the reason this regulation has been enacted is to protect the fisheries ecosystem. Thus, under the Schedule 1, the fishing methods that prohibited use is a pair of throw and fishing net that adapted to be lowered along the seabed by using 2 vessels. Under the Schedule 3 is explained about the fishing method that prohibited being used is the electric current generated by whatever mean, either to attract, kill fish or stun. By using this method, the owner of the vessel or person can catch the fish easily and can save their time without thinking about the negative impact of their action. The last one from my part is Fisheries Control of Endangered Species of Fish Regulations 1999. The regulation was gazetted on 1 October 1999 and used to protect the endangered species of fish including marine mammals. The purpose of this regulation is to avoid the fish from extinction due to uncontrolled fishing. The endangered species of fish that list under the regulation are dugong, dolphin, whale, sharks and clams. Under Section 1, to catch the endangered species fish, the persons needs to have permission from the Director General, and without it, the person cannot catch, kill, export and buy endangered species fish. Apart from that, under Section 3, any person who accidentally caught the fish must release back to the sea if it's still alive, and if the fish is dead, the person must report it to the fisheries officer and will be disposed of using the method that has been directed by the officer. For the next part, I will pass to Halimatul Saadiah to discuss about issues and challenges in combating IUU fishing.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Halimatul Saadiah binti Cik Daud. My matric number is 263203. Now I'm going to talk about the issue and challenge in combating IUU fishing in Kelantan, Johor, Terengganu and Pahang. The main challenge faced by the Malaysian, especially in the fisheries sector in combating IUU fishing, is the limited funding to manage the fishing activities. The allocation of funds provided in the fishery sector is insufficient to cover all costs involving various parties in this sector, especially in safeguarding the welfare rights of fishermen. In order to overcome this issue, based on the Budget Plan 2021, the Malaysian government has allocated specifically for the expansion in the fishery industry by 150 million through the vessel modernization and mechanization cash program, which focus on upgrading the fishing equipment such as trolling, boating, freezer and others. In addition, the central government has also increased the fishermen's living allowance to 300 ringgit to assist fishermen to purchase their daily necessity. The second challenge that we face in in combating the IUU fishing in Malaysia is the labour shortage in Malaysian fisheries sector. The fisheries sector is a sector that requires the use of a large number of workers, especially in the deep sea fishing activities. According to the Malaysian Fishery Department, the amount of the labour worker was still low and did not reach the main target of the Malaysian department. Due to that, the requirement of foreign labour is an alternative used by the Department of Fishery Malaysia to overcome the problem. Next, the leakage of fishery resource to neighbouring countries is one of the challenges that we are facing in combating IUU fishing, especially in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor. Leakage of fishery resource is the lending of cash abroad, the transfer of fish in the middle of the sea, as well as the encroachment of vessels from abroad to take the country's fishery resource. This is seen as the next issue in combating IUU fishing in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor is the leakage of fishery resource to the neighbouring country. Leakage of fishery resource is the lending of cash abroad, the transfer of fish in the middle of the sea, as well as the encroachment of vessels from abroad to take the country's fishery resource. This is seen as a total of 980,000 metric tons of the country's seafood worth between 3 billion to 6 billion is found lost every year due to the encroachment activity from foreign fishermen. Only 50% of the fish caught are landed in Malaysian water. In fact, in the water of the east coast of Malaysia, such Kelantan, Terengganu and Pahang, show the number of encroachment from foreign fishermen due to the vast sea area and the richness of various species that can still be caught. Now we go to the part about the challenge in combating IUU fishing in Malaysia. The first challenge that we can see is the lack of awareness in the fishing community. Among the challenges faced in combating IUU fishing in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor is the lack of awareness in the fishing community. This is because some of the fishermen are only gain education level only at the primary level. According from the Zebra, found that one of the factors that contributing to fishermen's living poverty was driven by the low education level. The main factor that drive the community fishermen not to push their education is due to the family economy. This situation ultimately lead to a low level of awareness among them, especially in fishing activities. License to fishermen to conduct fishery activity is a challenge faced in combating IUU fishing in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor. The license granted to the licensed boat, especially to the traditional fishermen and actual fishermen, was seen to increase access the amount needed by the Department of Fisheries. Besides that, the problem application of fishing license has long occurred, which was also seen as incomplete as some of fishermen obtained them and the rest had to wait for a long time. The risks faced by the unlicensed fishermen are also very high as they are exposed to danger, and without the approval of a valid license, they are unable to obtain all forms of aid or subsidies provided by the state government to them, such as a living allowance and subsidized oil.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Ilya Sabrina binti Anwar. My matric number is 267709 and I will be explaining on the recommendation to combat IUU fishing in East Coast State. one of the recommendations is increasing patrolling and monitoring activities. According to the Pew Charitable Trust, monitoring and implementation of global fisheries is not easy, as it has to deal with gigantic size of the water and countless number of boats that are fishing. Therefore, in order to combat IUU fishing activities, the increasement of port control has to be done. Ports that usually have incomplete inspection are known as great spots for IUU fishermen to sell their catch to the market. Monitoring is the vital way to break the supply chain from going on, which it requires fishermen to follow the regulation and to avoid IUU catch gets into the market, into the world's market. It may also be the ultimate reason for these irresponsible fishermen to stop their illegal fishing activities. As for the second one, spread and increase public awareness. Awareness among the societies are very important, as more people should educate themselves on fishing legally. Hence, when more people are aware on this issue, it won't be repeated in the future later. It is not an individual job, but everyone has to be cooperated. This is because everyone is responsible. Even it revolves on maritime area, everyone should be aware, as these fishes or as these sea creatures is one of human basic needs or foods. The third recommendation is necessitate fishing vessel to have unique identification numbers to avoid fishing vessel from changing their identities or off the radar after carry out their illegal activities. Hence, these fishing vessels are required to have their own unique identifying number that stays throughout the whole progression, including the structure and scrapping process, which global tracking systems are mandatory. The same implementation as for the cargo and passenger vessel should be done to the fishing vessel, as well as it may give the international authorities to recognize the identification numbers and unravel the illegal crimes. The last recommendation is the new technology, setting up the new technology. The new technology could help to track the vessel's location, as it may help to recognize any IUU fishing activities that happen in the sea. The accuracy and efficiency should really help to prevent illegal fishing activities by irresponsible fishermen. It comes with speedy data exchange, tracking and analysis of data to interrupt and effectively arrest vessels owner alleged of IUU fishing. As for the conclusion, this report discusses on few important things which consist of major types and impact of IUU fishing activities alongside with Malaysian national law and regulation. It is aimed to defeat IUU fishing that happen in these four respectful states, which are Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor. The impact of IUU fishing are affecting not only the fishes and the ecosystem, but the economic as well. The discussion in this report also emphasizes on few main issues together with challenges in combating illegal fishing activities. And there are several recommendations to combat IUU fishing in East Coast states such as Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang and Johor. Therefore, individual fishermen and the authorities have their own roles to gradually lessen the IUU activities in order to preserve the ocean along with the creatures. The implementation of law against fisheries crime are supposed to be sturdier than it used to be. Thank you. That's all for me.